This is Women's Stories. I'm Joy. I appreciate the fact that China came up. The idea was not to bash China, but it is one of the possibly more popular spaces and more consistent spaces that has been available for women, and now through generations. Like, I just made everybody laugh when I just let them know that, guys, let's tone it down on the China thing, because my mom is a whole head of a dinery down in the Lowveld, you know. So we were exploring our religious space and the sisterhood that can come out of that. And we very briefly touched on the fact that there actually is also cultural support, but then within those two spaces, where is the individual, and does the individual also have space to find, I suppose, to also find that sisterhood where there is honesty? Because what if you're not getting the type of, like Beatrice mentioned about mental health, that you also just need this for mental health? What if the only sisterhood spaces don't necessarily feed your personal mental health, and they don't speak to your personal challenges? Because they're also personality based, some of these things. Responses to how you handle things in life are also personality based. So, like, do we also have that space? And again, that's why we're here, isn't it? To excavate.
I'll go first. I have two issues. One, to hammer on the fact that China was just an example of the many spaces that we find ourselves in as women. We go to the salon to, feel good, and, it's
look
good for our
pretty.
mental health as well. So it's one space that sometimes is very good, but also can be very toxic.
It can be very toxic.
Very toxic, yeah. So,
and now in the times of COVID, how many of us are going to the salon?
I know.
We're not.
Like, I can go to the pub for my space. And
So
how many people will accept me for just walking in a pub, having my beer, having my drink, and just minding my own business?
Naomi,
Who will
can I
accept me
finish
for
now?
that?
Naomi, I
Can I
can't
finish?
imagine
Sorry
you
for
being a
interjection.
minder of
Can
your
I
own
finish?
business.
Co-host, can I have space, please? Okay, so I was talking about China as a space, but just a representation of the many spaces. And I think she also talked about the cultural perspective where a woman was allowed to, choose a partner after the death of her husband. But in all these spaces, I think my interests are around power and voice. What is informing our choice to be in those spaces, one? And in that cultural context that you brought in the last episode, to say, oh, actually, our culture is very good. A woman was allowed to choose a partner. Saka, I'm thinking, if I'm choosing my partner, muriese, and kumba, I've been taught about, munomkadzi nereka, and too much. Don't be too much. And so, do I have power? Do I yield any power in such a space to say, oh no, I don't want to be married, or oh, I actually like the guy next door, not you, anybody in this clan, or something like that. So, my encouragement as I wind off is to constantly think about power and voice, and how do we represent ourselves in different spaces that we find ourselves in. It's ourselves.
All right, just maybe to answer you when you were saying power, and if you have a choice. I also spoke of the third option, which you decide that, I've been in this family, thank you, but
I'm done.
I wanna explore. Yes, and the whole clan will respect that, because it's being done in public, in front of the entire family, and they'll respect you. But your kids will still, you will still maintain the respect of their father within the family, because you have made your decision in front of everyone. And I think even going over and above that, in our cultures, we sometimes think what we know as, for example, Karanga. I'm grouping a lot of dialects when I say Karanga. Karanga culture. Karanga culture. I'm including Manika, Ungwe, and all the others in there.
You're just showing off
We've created our own perspective of that culture, which in some cases is actually not it.
Not the reality.
People have modified it to suit their own needs. When you talk of power and women's power, women have always actually been powerful.
That's very true.
When in the history of, all right, just a simple example that everyone will relate to is Mbuyane Handa. And not only because she was a Shikiro, but because she took that space. Women are allowed to take that space. I think it's only a matter
But
of...
Rutendo, I also have a problem with
I
you.
think you should, No, do you have a problem with
Yes,
me or
I
what
say
she's
with
saying?
what she's saying. Sorry, Rutendo.
Like, that was about to get pretty serious in this moment.
Okay, all right, sorry. Rutendo, for me, the issue of Kugarwanaka and putting the woman on the spotlight, I also have a problem with it. For me, I feel it's infringement of that woman's right. Because if it was my husband who would have lost me, there won't be a dare to sit him down to say, oh no, Mambo Kadzi has died, so do you still want to marry in the family or not? There's nothing like that for a man. But why is it for a woman? For me, I have a problem with that.
Madam Researcher.
But
Scholars.
of course, you have to consider that as a young girl...
For me, it's infringement on my right as a woman. I think there's a form of
you know what?
suppression.
But can I also just interject?
No.
Rutendo's got the floor.
Can I speak after you now?
Rutendo's got the floor.
All right, fine.
It is good that you say that, and I honestly respect that. And I think I would advocate that if you are going to be a woman who wants to be that independent, then you have to say to your family, look, I am going to stay with this man without receiving lobola. Because the fact that he pays a lobola to you, that is culture. It is a way of doing things.
again.
If you agree to that way of doing things, you have to see it through. I mean, as women, we have to be responsible enough to see processes through. So what I love about such a space is it's a space to create new ways of doing things. But if you are going to align yourself to the old way of doing things, I mean, ladies, I would want a man who pays the bola for me to provide for the family. Provision should be his priority because that is the way of doing things. If we are going to do it in that process, then we should see it through. So, if I'm going to be married, lobola yo bada, rora. Vokukorodza madzisekuru nei
Vanatete okurungwe vauya.
ndizvozvo panofa murume naiye munyaya anenge aripo nyaya yotorwa mudare sedare rakagara pakurora.
So are we saying the minute I get lobola is paid, I've sold my rights?
It's not about rights.
No.
It's about the process.
Yeah, it then comes with the issues with lobola, because what she's saying is the lobola issue, then you have to finish it through. If the man dies, you need to Wunga needs everyone again and do the rights, okay? But I thought the lobola was like a token, not really something that you really sell off your sexual rights. You've sold your soul. I've lost my identity. And where I have a problem with maybe with the cultural side of it is when a woman is married, you're invalid. You've sold your soul, you've sold your rights, you've sold your sexual rights. You're nothing. That's where the problem is. And now the problem also goes on after the man has died. People have to sit around and listen to your sexual relationships. So now this one has died. We are now giving you Babam Nini. We're now giving you Bamkuru. Why can we not have the same process happens when a man dies?
Ladies,
Let's go, Naomi. Let's go.
Do you know what? The most powerful person in the community, as far as the African society is concerned, was the woman. We make major decisions in the home about the children, right? About where to invest. Do you even know that sometimes a man cannot make a business decision without consulting me? Much as they don't even move around parading it, they would want to act as if they are the ones who made the decision. But before they even make that decision, it's like, I want to see Madam first. I want to consult my boy first. Why? Because we're important. So why then, ladies, are we saying that women have been like very have been subjected to this stifling thing about men? Males don't stifle us. We stifle ourselves. That's our problem. That's the reason why we can't even get spaces for ourselves. That's the reason why we go to China to please who? The people who are around us, not to please me.
I also feel. Can I jump in?
Yes, please go
Moderator,
go ahead there.
I feel like what you said is very important about follow through with the process. But it's also okay to feel like, okay, I made a bad decision. I made a bad social contract with this person and I want out of here. Because I feel the whole notions around follow through the whole process are the reason why we have a lot of women who we have a lot of women who have never experienced what an orgasm feels like. I was reading stories on some Facebook page of a woman who's
How can you
45
live full life without
and was
that?
saying
How does that happen?
she only experienced an orgasm when she did an entanglement. You get it? But for the whole 45 years marriage or 45 years of her existence, because this guy, by 1920, never pushed her strong to understand all this pleasure, and all that. So I'm saying it's also okay to say, okay, I got into a bad contract. Much as we saying accountability and responsibility to follow through processes, but it's okay to say, I'm done.
Sorry, can I just say something exciting here?
Okay.
Exciting. What
Where I come from the Makoni people, the Nyati, and it's a matriarchal
Oh yes.
clan.
Oh yes. That's the only
And
chieftain she's
so
with
we
my
Exactly, and she would know because she's from my clan.
Yes.
And in our clan, women like myself, I could actually hold the position of power. I could have many husbands.
How do I switch to become a Makoni?
Simply because
Please, can you adopt me in that
simply because I have this power, it cannot then go to another clan. So the Mambo who would have made me Ishe could arrange different nyatis, maybe they'll come away with it.
and orgy kind of thing?
It is this kind of narratives that we don't talk about every day. It is this kind
Do you
of
think that
narratives
they're
that are
known?
shelved.
But do you think that
And-
they're known? Because I think also
They're not.
part of because I think as the more that our independence has been tied to the economic success of a man. Listen, I don't know when this started to become the theme. You even hear of girls talking about dating a guy, and there are certain prerequisites. He must have a job. He must have a car. He must have a TV, a smart TV. He must have internet at home. He must
have
he
a
must
degree
be
or a
able to
master's.
pay for me to get my hair and my nails done and to buy me an outfit if he wants to take me out, etc., etc. So, and I don't know when this became the thing, but it seems to me that part of our undoing of, so now we come across as hostile, but somewhere along the line in our women's narratives, we've lost the stories of that mukadzi anotogona ukadzi waushe. We've lost those stories, and we've allowed ourselves to be so tethered to the economic success of a man in order to have an identity. We've been our own proprietors, so to speak, of this defeating, stifling patriarchy. I tend to find that it is in my conversations with other African women in different spaces. It's in those conversations with other African women that I keep finding that, like, whoa, are you trying to say that I'm radical? I'm too out of the box. Like, I cannot be this independent and this free. It's and interrogate in this way. But no, we aren't. We are the very ones who are not discussing those stories. We're not telling those stories anymore. And why is that?
I think you're actually right.
It seems to be that we are complicit in our own undoing of our own power and our own voice.
Because as she was speaking, I felt very inadequate and very not knowledgeable about
Absolutely.
my culture enough to understand certain things. So it's just to add on to what you're saying that I think I need to go for Makoni. Is it Makoni? It's Makoni.
So ladies, just to bring it back. So just to bring it back.
So what is from her?
Sorry, before
Sorry.
before you go to, I just wanted to say, I love what she said about storytelling. Let me go back to the issue.
Just to go back, and then I'll relate. I'll marry the question to what I want to say.
At it, girl.
When Joy was talking about storytelling, it reminded me of Mapiwa. We as women, we mold society as it is today. But not who controls Matongo? Matongo were actually controlled by the women because we breed the kids and we rear the kids. We mold the child from when they're little to when they're grown. You can't make a scientist out of your own child. Huh? And storytelling was one way that was used to do this. And so because we are not telling enough stories, we are telling stories. We are not telling enough stories. Every woman has a story to tell. Every woman must take a platform. They must take it. We must claim these sports. If we don't claim them, we are not doing justice to future generations. So we must tell. We must tell stories. Mapiwa was an opportunity for women to tell stories. Mukazi wega angaine musha wake manga muine kitchen maivene Mapiwa maigana nevana vake nevazukuru achitaura ngano achitaura nyaya achipasa message achipasa inspiration achipasa direction. You know, when we even talk about land, inina tete vangu hanzvadzi yasekuru vangu vakaenda kwamambo vakati ni pandiri kugara ndisikufara napo muraini. You know, kumusha we have maraini communities. Ndoda kunogara uko, which was Musango. Mambo akati mwera nyati unopenga unganogara musango musina chinhu. And she said yes, imomo ndichavaka kumusha. This was probably 60-70 years ago. Now everyone came from the valley where they lived towards where she had decided to live. And so a woman has that power to claim land, to claim space, to claim stories and tell these stories. And you know, just to say, Kuti, how do you find yourself? Everyone has a gifting. And it's unfortunate that people have molded cultures, people have created societies, associations to mold people into a way of thinking that they want. But Iwewe as an individual, you have a way of thinking. You have a burning in your heart. No, we were talking earlier, Namanyati here, about the passions that she had as a kid and how they've manifested in her own kids. You have that. It is high time that in these spaces we speak of these issues. Claim your passion. They will direct a generation to come.
And beyond.
It's just beyond the society. You are in the society you are in, but you can move out.
Yes, definitely.
There's no fence.
I actually concur with her.
Yeah.
We're going to,
Because,
we're going to take up with you,
No,
sorry, as
I'll
we're
pass,
just
I need
wrapping
a
up.
drink.
Okay.
Okay.
My
Before we wrap
grandmother.
up, no, we're about to wrap up.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
I do agree with her, and I don't really have much in this segment. I sort of getting in sync with what Rutendo has been saying. So yeah, I'm good.
Oh, nice.
Power.
Naomi, your last words?
My last word, the girl child has always had power. The woman has always had power. But doesn't mean that having opportunities gives you power to override the other person. That's all I have to say.
I just think that in as much as we have all these conversations and we have all these spaces, I think it's quite important to always go forward from a position of honesty. I personally feel that in a lot of the women's spaces that I've been in, there's not been a lot of honesty. And so I do appreciate sitting here and fighting it out and fighting with the producer to change the segment title, insisting that no, we're going right ahead with this because, like, you know, we had so much to unpack. And I appreciate that we've now come to a calmer place and we're ready to top up our drinks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us on Women's Conversations. I do hope you've enjoyed the dish that we've been serving, and we'll see you soon.